This should be another epic between Zock and Crazy Chariot. In this game, he's called Symbol. So this is the same map where we saw the epic between Zock and Crazy Chariot go over an hour with crazy battles with experimentals and nukes. This game is actually a few days earlier, it seems. I don't know for sure. Look at the build for Zock. Play this fast at first, should be a long game. Second air with a whole bunch of power. Bunch of NGs going after mass extractors. Gonna get a factory and some radar. Also similar plans for Symbol, although he does have some mech marines coming out. See these mech marines, gonna look for these NGs expanding in these spots. He's gonna do the same thing for both sides. He's also going second air. One of his first NGs on a pretty long T1 PGen spam. We also see some auroras, some flares, and some scouts coming in to protect this engine. Good timing on when his tank commences to support. This mech marine will try to get around this aurora. So in this game, Zock is Aeon, and the other one he was Cyber. In both games, Crazy Chariot has been UEF. See, this mech marine is going to try to get around. Kills off the scout and keeps on running. Actually, it seems like this mech marine missed it, killed off an engine here. See a dead NG. It's a really nice mech marine. Actually, 3 kills already, killed off that flare. Almost kills wanted too much, almost kills NG. It's a nice rating from Crazy Chariot early on. See the ACU from Crazy Chariot got a plan for 5 T1 land factories. The ACU for Zock still making power. Zock playing much safer. We see some transports from Zock. See some T1 air from Zock. He avoids the middle. There's some flak in the middle. He's gonna scout and see. Crazy Chariot does have some air of his own. He's making a second air factory. So both players expecting lots of air needs. We see a flare for Zock looking for expanding NGs. Both players have many NGs here. You can see so many NGs reclaiming. Lots of trees and lots of rocks. Same thing for Zock. Now going T2 with the air. Not too many land factories for Zock relatively to Symbol. Well, it's actually quite similar. It's just that Zock's land factories are in the middle of his original base. Symbols are shifted to the side. We can see Zock slightly faster. This was the result of the drop, expanding to the stop starting position. He also sends another NG drop. So early on, a really nice map control. Although it looks like Crazy Chariot has plans for this top base. Pretty nice T1 force. He definitely has numbers. These auroras might try to make an advantage using their range, but it would be difficult to counter these numbers. We do see a T1 PD that's will be very valuable for Zock. That's where we might see another fight. There is a few RD in this army for Crazy Chariot, and these 5 factories for Zock are going to produce a pretty nice force very soon if Crazy Chariot doesn't attack. So Crazy Chariot decides to retreat and is going to push through the other channel. Crazy Chariot is going to lose 2 mass extractors here, an NG from Zock right there, ready to make mass extractors. On the other side, we see Crazy Chariot successfully pushes Zock back in the middle. We see that Crazy Chariot is able to take the mass from the middle. It's going to be a nice mass boost for his economy. We're seeing T2 some pillars in Crazy Chariot's army, as well as some mongoose. This is not a very good move from Zock. He's running into this T2 T1 force. It's going to be a lot of dying for him. They see another smaller force from Crazy Chariot trying to sneak around. Is going to get sandwiched between 2 forces, but it'll be a pretty close fight. And elsewhere we see the T2 push from Grace Chariot is going to run over Zock's freshly built base. These 10 Auroras are really not a force. We see some mass spots in the middle for Grace Chariot. Looks like Zock completely forgot about the middle. If we look at Zock's base, he's making T3 air. He's got 4 T2 power generators and going T3 ground very soon. This is minute 13. We'll have to slow this down. We also see a whole bunch of T3 air for Symbol, Grace Chariot. So it looks like on the ground, at least temporarily, Grace Chariot is having some success. At least on the bottom side, he most likely will have some success on the top side as well. T2 versus T1 here. So now we're seeing some Harbies coming out for Zock. So these T2 tanks from Grace Chariots are not really a match for a Harby. Multiple Harbies coming out now, they'll be able to stop this push. Bigger problems on the top. You can see these Auroras just getting ran over. There's still this one T1 PD, but it won't be much of a challenge for this T2. Although this is not the best way to take on a T1 PD. It's getting multiple kills now. Well, only one kill. Surprising. We should see a few Harbies going up to the top channel now. For a lot of these units, a lot of T2 here, and a T2 land factory from Zock. You don't want to lose this. Is in danger. On the bottom we do see these Harbies, multiple Harbies plus some Obsidians moving through. They're going to kill a bunch of NGs. We see a pretty massive ASF force from Grace Chariot. Not too much micro going on here, it's just numbers win. And Grace Chariot definitely has the numbers and he will win this ASF fight. This means that we do see some broadswords, T3 gunships, 2 of them from Grace Chariots are going to start fighting here. Now we're seeing T2 PDs successfully defending the spot for Zock, as well as some Harbies moving in. 3 Harbies moving into this position. Zock's NGs capturing even in the face of certain death. Good use of NGs. And now we're seeing undefended Harbies still killing till the end. It's terrible to have Harbies with no flak and no ASF. Just these broadswords are going to get a lot of kills. See some T3 onto air from Zock. He's going T3 power, and he's spamming Harbies pretty hard at this point. He should probably get a little more flak to go with him. And the Harbies are going to come back to try to take back the land here. See a single NG trying to recover the mass spots, and a number of NGs for Grace Chariot. Harbies take care of the T2 force. They're going to move in to try to save this NG. Some T2 Mongoose looking for some action as well. Now we see these broadswords being very aggressive. 5 broadswords protected by SF, killing off mass extractors. Basically any part that does not have flak. There is a little bit of flak here, but not nearly enough. You see how effective the broadswords are. Now they retreat. Excellent rating with broadswords from Grace Chariot, but still quite a few, really just this one rating group of Harbies for Zock. And now you can see the T1 factories are the new target. Harby gets killed, and another ASF battle that it appears that Grace Chariot will take. Now these Harbies are doing good rating. They're about to kill a T3 ground factory from Grace Chariot. This is a huge loss for Grace Chariot, the T3 factory. However, these Harbies are going to get wiped out. You can see Zock does the right thing. He splits his Harbies. However, Grace Chariot does the exact same thing. Obsidian running away at 5 kills. I would see in terms of map control, actually Zock doing a great job with these NGs recapturing a whole bunch of mass extractors. It's now minute 22. The air has been completely dominated by Grace Chariot, which has been able to
keep Zock's Harveys from winning the game, because they were rolling really hard and stopped for the most part by these broadswords. That's very much an overkill. This appears to be something like 8 broadswords going against a bunch of T1 NGs and T1 mask extractors. On the other side, Zock is pushing with these Harveys. See a T2 force here that has absolutely no chance. But actually, this is a pretty nice T2 force here. There's a whole bunch of pillars. But there's 3 Harveys here, which should get a whole bunch of kills. We might see the broadswords come over, and now we see another Harvey just running around, is about to get killed. So, slow this down a little more. We can see Zock has really good economy, at least locally here. He's going with some T3 mask extractors. He's still pumping out quite a few ASF. And the map, for the most part, should belong to Gray's Chariot. Although these Harveys just rolled through. Many kills for these Harveys. And now Zock is taking control over this bottom base. Another ASF fight. Zock is targeting the gunships, but his ASF are hopelessly outnumbered. And now you can see a bunch of T2 mask extractors are lost. T2 flak under a shield is nice, although a few of those gunships were lost in that fight. Some more undefended Harveys about to be killed. You can see the plan. Torpedo bomber from Gray's Chariot. There is absolutely no water on this map, so that's kind of strange. And some more gunships. See a drop from Zock. T2 and a few T1s. Looks like a T1 PD plus shield. So Zock has been very aggressive trying to expand in the face of certain death here. Looks like Gray's Chariot is rebuilding his gunship force. Now he has 6 gunships. We see some flak coming out for Zock. Will be very useful. See scouting from Zock. And a T3 land factory being built by Gray's Chariot. He did already lose one. Looks like it's been already reclaimed. If we look at reclamation at minute 27, 43,000 for Gray's Chariot. Zock has done 51,000, so both large numbers. It's about 2 experimentals each. It's a nice base that Zock has been able to establish. A shield plus multiple T2 flak provides some deterrent versus these gunships. If they really want, they can kill it. They will take some damage in the process, however. Now we see a drop of a Harvey to give protection to these NGs. It would be nice to see some flak in this area as well. You don't see too much flak in this force. Well, actually, no, a few T2 flak as well. Not too much in terms of land for Gray's Chariot. He did lose that T3 factory, so has been a difference that allowed Zock to really stay in this game. And the more scouts from Zock now. Zock working on a second T3 power generator. More T3 mask extractors. And in terms of map control, Zock still has more mask extractors. And getting quite a few T2 mask extractors. It looks like he's using T2 NGs to rebuild the T2 mask extractors that he lost to these gunships. Appears the gunships are coming in for another raid. And now we're seeing Titans coming up plus a fatty planned for Gray's Chariot. Titans aren't really a match for those Harveys, but still nice to have. More drops from Zock. He's using T1 transports. These are NGs. He has a couple obsidians in the middle. The Obsidians are going to kill off these NGs from Crazed Chariot, and another drop here. So Zock dropping directly to mass spots, and he's dropping T2 engineers. Yeah, Crazed Chariot put an end to that drop in the middle of the map. Based on this gameplay, I would expect Zock to drop here very soon. It's a very nice base here for Zock. He's got a T2 engineer just running around extracting trees. And aggressive Obsidian here, going against a few NGs. And a pretty nice T3 force protected by flak. Be nice to see some shields with this one. But it's Harbies and flak moving in. They're gonna get met by a whole bunch of Titans, as well as a fatty that's almost finished. So no plans for an experimental yet for Zock. Has 2 T3 power, no T3 power for Crazed Chariot yet. And now another drop from Zock as we expected. T2s plus some flak and a shield. This is excellent use of drops. See these T2 engineers making T2 flak. These are some very lazy gunships they should be raiding. And now we see this fatty is going to wipe out these Harbies plus the Titans helping out. So really unfortunate for these you can see even with flak, when you have such a large number of gunships, it's really not a good situation. You can see Zock is making a pretty nice air force for himself, but not really nearly enough when you see a GC as planned. It's a nice trail of dead units. It would be nice to reclaim all that. And now a nice force of Titans. He's going to lead in front of this fatty. Haven't seen any Percys yet. Now we're seeing that Crazed Chariot is switching to Percys. And some more raiding Obsidians are wiped out by this gunship crew. See more Harbies being produced. And a GC. Should be finished before the fatty gets here. So you can see now Zock has a higher score, much more mass extractors for Zock. Now we're seeing a nuke from Crazed Chariot. We do not see any. Oh yeah, actually there is an anti-nuke from Zock. Should be able to get a missile before a missile is built by this nuke. However, that could be a target for these gunships. Could take that out quite easily. Now we see the Titans. We're gonna see. Actually, it appears that Crazed Chariot having some power problems. This would be bad news for this fatty to lose its shield in the middle of a fight. GC is completed for Zock. And now the fatty begins assaulting this front base. It's using its range. Harbies run away. You're going to wait for the GC to get there. And another ASF fight. This time the numbers are much closer. However, there still appears that Crazed Chariot has more. So I've been told that air really dominates 3599 games. This is doesn't seem to be the case in this one. And the fatty dies quite easily versus the GC. Titans should run away, so the Titans are going to get wiped out by the GC. You can see the GC won't even really take any damage. These are not Percys. So that was a Titan massacre there. You see a lot of flak around this GC. So Symbol has a nuke on its way. He probably should switch to spamming Harbies and maybe another fatty. We see Obsidians, very aggressive Obsidians from Zock. However, now we do see these gunships being successful. It looks like they have wiped out this flak. Zock desperately trying to save his GC with ASF, but total air domination. So maybe people are right. Aeon 3599 is quite powerful. If you have about 15 broadswords, it should be. Broadswords staying behind to fight. These just have low fuel, so they're going really slow. Or wiping out that flak. 30 kills for this one. 22 for the other. A dead fatty here. This is a nice chunk of mass. There's a Harvey. It looks like Zock is great with those transports. He's going to transport directly to that fatty. Well, in between the two spots, he's going to get some mass spots. And those raiding obsidians. Amazing that the obsidians actually got this far. Are going to get wiped out. We can see the nuke is still the plan for Gray's Chariot. Another GC out for Zock. And the nuke for anti-nuke for Zock is loaded. It's minute 40 now. See more T1 factories being produced by Zock, perhaps for more NGs, although this should be 500 unit limit, so you don't want to just spam too much T1 in a game like this. Now we see some Perseus, some adventurous Perseus, probably trying to prevent NGs from getting all this free mass, but might not be successful with this GC coming in. Mass spots in the middle have been completely abandoned. We see some scouting from Gray's Chariot. His nuke is nearly finished. He's finally making some T3 power. Amazing to have. Actually, he does already have one. Yeah, it wouldn't be able to make a nuke with only T2 power. And now we can see that GC rolling through. Really nice flak escort for that GC. No plans except to nuke for Gray's Chariot, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. You can see Zock is getting a nice ASF force. He's got two different squadrons here. And the obsidians from this top side have been pretty constant for Zock, both to the middle and raiding this top side of Gray's Chariot's base. As you see, is rolling through. We just saw a nuke being launched by Gray's Chariot, and it has been launched at Zock's base. He must have not seen the anti-nuke from Zock, so there goes the nuke. He was really hoping Zock wouldn't have an anti-nuke, so he's working on the second. So we gotta see, Zock actually already has a second anti-nuke, so this nuke thing is pretty futile if you have an anti-nuke. Now this GC is rolling in. It's gonna be around in the corner real soon. Pretty nice set of gunships here, a few of flak. Now one thing that should be done is why did this GC just turn around? Oh, so now we see, now it changed its mind, turned back. An ASF fight that's actually going to be very close. Zock just might win this ASF fight, and Zock wins the ASF fight at the most important moment, completely wipes out those gunships. And now we see an anti-nuke, well, a nuke here versus a GC, and GC wins that battle. Not much that Gray's Chariot can do here. He attempted the nuke, but there was an anti-nuke, and now a GC is about to kill his ACU. So this game not as epic as the other, but same basic result. Zock wins with two different factions.